Hi, it's Elaine from Penguin Place Crafts with the summary of today's show. Oh, my shirt says, I crochet, but my favorite hobby is collecting yarn. Okay, I'm not doing this show again. I'm not setting foot in this place again. I feel like things were not well organized, poor communication. I was told that I could not set up until 9:30 for a 10 o'clock show. So I got there at about 9:20, walk in, and like, okay, where am I supposed to go? There's nobody. Like, they didn't say which door to come in. They didn't say where you're supposed to go. So I'm walking around trying to, oh, I think you're down that way. So I go down that way. Where am I supposed to set up? Oh, I don't know. You're going to have to find the organizer. Well, where is she? Oh, I don't know. It's like the clock's a ticking. I've only got half an hour. And there were people there who were already set up because they were told they could come earlier. So I get all set up, and within half an hour of the show starting, I had somebody pick something up. How much is this? Little sea turtle. You know, the camo sea turtle that I just finished yesterday. $12. It's not worth that. And she throws it back on the table. She was just the first person to do that. Over the course of the day, there was one other lady who literally threw the item back on the table, saying, it's not worth that. And there were at least 3 other people who felt the need to tell me, oh, this is cute, but it's not cute enough to pay that kind of money. I have been told at other shows that my prices are too low. But at this show, we had a lot of people with faulty filters who felt the need to criticize my prices. And when we went in, I'm looking around, and I was like put with my back to the nurse's station. So there's people walking behind me. So I wasn't up with a wall behind me. And I said, is there a place here where I can plug in my little crock pot with my lunch? Oh, you don't need lunch. We're providing lunch for all the vendors. I said, well, I have to have gluten-free. Oh, well, we can get you something. Lunchtime comes around. The organizer brings in little styrofoam turkey dinners for everyone in the room but me. It's like a flashback to high school days when you're the last one who isn't picked for square dancing or baseball teams or something like that. And I started crying. And they did not honor my request to be put next to my friend Joanna. She and I were opposite sides of the room. If I had her there to have her happy thoughts lifting me up through the criticism, the day probably would have gone a bit better. But they ignored my request and put us on opposite sides of the room. I could, see her and wave. And I did message her several times over the course of the show. I was ready to just call it quits hours before the show ended. The thing is, this show was more profitable than the one about 10 days ago where I fell. But that show was very well organized, and the people who put it on were very attentive to their vendors, and they bent over backwards to make sure that you had help bringing stuff in, that you knew exactly where you were going. Just, I'd go back to that one again. Just because the people running it were so nice. Okay. Once I'm done with this video, I plan on going out to my chair with my day planner and writing down a list of blessings to try to get me out of this Eeyore phase. But it was just not a fun day. Not fun. I did have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sales over the course of 5 hours. 2 of the things were items I finished yesterday. I sold the camo turtle. That woman who threw it down on the table and said it wasn't worth $12 came back and grudgingly bought it. I sold the Loaf kitty that I made with folk song yarn. I liked that one. I thought that turned out cute. I sold a little sea turtle for $10. I sold the Sphinx. I made that back in 2022 for a crochet along. It's when I would do these crochet alongs and make these rather unusual items. Some of them have been very difficult to sell, very complex. I mean, this thing was big and it was complex, but it sold today. Okay, that was good. I sold one of my little scrappy Loaf cats. He was in my $5 bin. I sold the Ballerina Kitty that I made, that I finished just. No, I didn't finish it yesterday. I finished it today. Because in yesterday's video I said, oh dear, she needs her dress straps. Well, then I forgot about that. I get to the show and I'm looking at it from across the room. And I'm like, I still didn't make the dress straps. So I went back and I pulled her off the table. Fortunately, I had that yarn with me. Crocheted the little straps, sewed them on. And maybe an hour later, somebody bought her. And that was $25. And the lady was like, she thought the price was very reasonable. Yeah, there were some nice people there. There were. It's just to get criticism over and over again from different people. It's hard to balance out. You know, like when there's 5 criticisms and 2 compliments, you start getting pulled down. Okay, I have to make this one again. I don't know if I have a picture. There's a little mouse in a pink shirt. It was really cute. I want to make more of them. That was a fun make, and it sold fairly quickly. Another one, you know, it's always a perk when something that has been sitting in inventory for ages sells. I asked if I could have 2 tables so I could have one for Minigurumi and one for hats, scarves, fingerless gloves, you know, the apparel stuff. I had a cowl that I had made probably 5 years ago, and that sold for $18. Then I sold one of my Happy Huggy Cats. I discovered that on my tags, one of them I have marked for $22, and then the others are marked for $24. So I was like, okay, I want to be consistent. I'll let you have it for $22 because they're the same pattern, same size. So I sold the gummy bear. It was I think the yarn was called Gummy Bear. It was a purple and blue mix. And then when I was picking up, I'm getting everything packed up. It's like, I'm out of here. You know, the organizer came in and said, yeah, it's 3 o'clock. You'll feel free to leave. It's like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm gone. I still had my box of $8 each or 2 for 15 on the table, and a young lady was going through it, and she pulled out a pink octopus and a purple penguin, and Venmoed me $15 just before I finished getting everything done. So my grand total for this show was $165 in sales, with a $25 show fee. Yeah, it was supposed to be a donation to the Alzheimer's Society. So I wanted to write out a check. She wouldn't take a check. It had to be cash. I don't like doing business that way. So $140 comes out to be 37th place out of 140. My list isn't updated with the recent shows. I think this was show 143 or 144. So it was up there. It was above average in sales, but below average in enjoyability. So I don't feel like cooking dinner. I had cold goulash for lunch. My goulash that I had for dinner last night was good, because it's good when it's warm. But I had to go out to the car when she told me, oh, don't worry about plugging in a little crock pot. We'll give you lunch. I left my lunch out. I left the the crock pot out in the car. So I had to go out and get it, and it was cold. It wasn't all that good cold. Nope. So I think I'm going to make something like baked oatmeal for our dinner tonight. And I'm going to ignore everything else on my list and just play with yarn. I'm going to get in some yarn therapy and try to get to bed early, get a good night's sleep. Yeah, that's, it's easy to say I'm going to get a good night's sleep, but and tomorrow should be a brighter day. I'm all done with craft shows now. Talk about ending on a low note. I should have just ended it on Saturday with Depew. That busy show with 1,200 shoppers. And I can't remember if it was Depew or the show before that. But one woman stopped at my table and she said, I just wanted to say that your stuff is really unique. She goes, there are so many crocheters out there and they just churn out the same thing over and over again, mass producing the stuff that's going to sell. You have unique items. You have stuff that you can't get elsewhere, and you have really good qualities. I'm like, oh, thank you. Didn't hear anything like that at this show. Okay, I will eventually get the links for the patterns as much as possible. It's not going to be today. All of my stuff is still out in the car. My table that I have in here for my laptop is still out in the car. I don't want to empty the car tonight. Nope. And if I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. I'm just going to sit in my chair and play with yarn and have baked oatmeal. And I might just put some cream on top when I have mine. Yep. A nice hot meal. Bye-bye. I'm sorry if this was a bit of a downer. I'll try to be back to perky tomorrow. Bye-bye.